These are Indian clubs made, built by Indians, Iroquois Indians in New Jersey. These were used for chopping sticks. They had, they had fire. They had to chop up wood, and they didn't have any axes or anything. They only had stones. So my uncle found these. Oh, well, the whole family found these. In Red Bank, at a certain time, they dug your basement by hand. So when you went in the basement, they actually came to your house, and there was no machines, and they dug the basement by hand, and they'd find these all over the place. So what happens is, more than likely, a native Indian threw this at a deer or something and missed. This was they said this was a woman's for chopping small sticks around a fire. So these were found. Originally I had about 5 or 6 of them. I don't know where the others are. But my uncle, he talked to people who were Indians. Their skin was black and they looked like black people, but they still had Indian names and they had Indian ways around 1900s. And they had paths where they ran or they used the river. Now my father and them, they all used the Navasink River. Up where the river got smaller. Then they used it for trapping, hunting, fishing, all that stuff. There still were Indian trails along that bank from the Indians, and then after the Indians left, trappers used them and other people used them. But they were known as the Indian Trail. So what happened was he found out what this was from people who had known Indians. So what happened was he found these sticks. You had to find it with you had to find a fork, and he put this was in this one here, but he did this around 1900. No, World War I. So these have deteriorated over the years and dried up, but he had the whole set, and he had them all together with handles up and all that wood at the bottom, and they were in my house forever on the heat vent, and we all knew what they were and everything else. So this is what they needed to function. He needed a way to break up branches, dead wood, whatever, and they would use this. And then, in theory, this would be used to kill your enemy. You can't. This would be no good. This is too small. But you throw this at somebody when they got close, or shoot your bow and arrow at them. And when they got close, you throw the bow and arrow down, and you pull this out of your belt or whatever, and you whack somebody with that. So they were not special stones. They just were. See where they were.
Mm-hmm.
They somehow wound them down. But these were not. What would you call it? These were not made to be decorations of art. These were made to be used. So if you lost this, you'd say, "Oh, I'm going to get another one." You just buy it. You wouldn't spend hours and hours and hours at this. As soon as you got that down enough that you could wrap this around it with deer hide, and that's what it was. So I don't know where the rest are, but I know I gave you some, right?
That's why they're here.
I don't know where the rest are. But anyway, and when I was a kid, my father got so mad because we took our crayons and colored them. we thought we were doing good, you know. We made them into. We colored them with green and red and everything. It made them all look pretty. My father went berserk. He says, "What are you doing?"
That's a great story.
Yeah. But now, let's talk a minute about Uncle Bill, because Uncle Bill was the oldest son in my father's family. Now, Uncle Bill was born in 1900 or 1901. I don't know which.
Mm-hmm.
But when he was born, the family bought a stainless steel Christmas ornament, about this big, and had the date on it and everything, because there were no glass ornaments. So you just had wood and stuff. But they went out and spent this money for the stainless steel, because stainless steel was just invented then. And that would hang on my tree my whole life. I don't know where that is.
That is in my possession, and it hangs at the top of my Christmas tree every year.
Okay.
And all of your grandchildren who live with me all know the value of the big silver ball.
Yes, you can see your face in it. You comb your hair in it.
They know it's very special, and that I'm the only one who's allowed to hang it.
All right, there you go. Thank you for that. Thank you for remembering that.
Yeah.
So anyway, so he went to Red Bank High School in Red Bank. He was a very smart man, and he he wanted to be a teacher. Now, you didn't have to go to college to be a teacher in them days. You just had to be willing to take the crap from all the big kids. So when he was 18, he got a job in Monmouth County in the backwoods, where he had a one-room schoolhouse. And the first day on the job, he had to beat all the boys up. So he beat them all up in the yard, punched them out, knocked them down, and then he had no more trouble. Because the boys you could have 8th grade, they might be 19 years old. They'd send them to school until they were 25, because the thing was, they wanted their kids to get an education, but they had to work on a farm all the time. So they could only go to school in the middle of the winter. So you'd only go to school 6 to 8 weeks, and then you had to go back working on a farm. So he got big kids, the grown-up men were his students, because the parents wanted them to get an education, especially foreigners. The foreigners come here, they always wanted their kids to get an education, more than the normal people, the regular people. So he did that, and he I don't know where he went after that, but he wound up finally in the Middletown school system. But he never had a college degree, so he could only go up to be a principal in the 8th grade. When Leonardo School burnt down, and they had to have a new school built, all those kids had to be parceled out somehow to get an education for the 2 or 3 years it took to build the school. And at that time, my uncle was old, and he said, "That's enough. I'm retiring. I don't want to get involved in this." So he stopped. But he couldn't go any higher. I mean, he was the superintendent of 8th grade down. And he was a very strict man, very nice man, but I could see all the kids being intimidated by him.
That's my kind of person.
He never had any children. It's funny, right? He never had children.
Can I ask you a question? When you were referencing this artifact, and you said my uncle,
That was the guy.
that was Uncle Bill.
Yeah.
Okay, I just
Uncle
want to make
Bill,
sure.
Well, he gathered them up, but he made him into
And that's
looking
your
like
dad's
natural.
Your dad's older brother.
Yes.
Okay, the oldest.
He was the oldest. Now, by being the oldest, in those days, he had a responsibility, because his mother was a widow.
Mm-hmm.
He could not get married until the mother remarried or the mother died. So my Uncle Bill, he's the oldest son, he stayed at home and supported his mother, and all the younger ones got married and moved out.
And
That was the way.
Yes, and he is buried in the same cemetery as your dad and
Oh,
Uncle
yeah.
Paul?
Yeah, right there in that.
They're all
block.
together, right?
Yeah. So
Right.
what happened was, he and his next brother, Paul, they married sisters.
Right.
And his sisters were librarians,
Yes.
which was like fluffy. And these were two rough guys. But
It all worked.
Their marriage lasted their whole lives.
It all worked.
So what happened was, Uncle Paul opened up a business for painting, which I told you in the other one, where he had my father out there swinging on the rope. And then the other one was, well, one was Cedric, and I think Cedric, he died young.
Mm-hmm.
I think Cedric had also been in World War II in Europe.
Yes, this is true. We found this in the book.
One more son, so I don't know.
And Cedric is buried in Brielle.
Yes.
And Abby and I found that grave.
Oh, very good.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't remember nothing about him that he smoked a pipe that just stunk.
Cedric was written about in the paper when he was like a teenager running cross country.
Oh, yes.
All through
Thompson
Longstreet
Farm.
Farms, yes, and stuff like that. Yeah.
They were very active people,
Mm-hmm.
and they went to church. They didn't belong to a church like nowadays. They belonged to like a men's club,
Mm-hmm.
and that was the church. And they would do sports and stuff, and
Mm-hmm.
they would gather food and stuff to give it to old people, sick people. And he did that. My father did that as well. Now, another interesting thing about my uncle Bill, is that now Uncle Bill was old, so he was like the oldest one, but they all were old by the time I come along. So what happened was, I'm at his viewing, at his funeral, when he died at like 90, 100, and I didn't know until then that he had been 50 years as a volunteer fireman.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
He was a captain, a lieutenant, a captain, and he retired because he got too old to fight a fire. But when they had all these firemen there, their uniforms.
Yes, yes. He was loved. Yes, he was loved. And what's ironic is he was written about in all those papers that you could like find on the computer, like his archives. But it's so to a point that you could be at somebody's house for Thanksgiving, Christmas, and what have you, and maybe just not know every detail of them because it's just what they do,
Yeah.
you know. And then you see all these other men show up, you know, to pay respect, and you get to know them better.
Yeah.
You know.
Well, his funeral was packed.
Mm-hmm.
Packed with people, but I didn't know anything about it.
And that's
Not the
Aunt
whole
Betty,
lifetime.
right? That he was with Aunt Betty, right?
Yes, Aunt Betty.
Right.
Aunt
But that's
Betty.
not her. That's not her birth name. I forget what's on the. She's
Elizabeth.
She's Elizabeth, and is the other one?
Dorothy.
Right. Okay.
Dorothy was Uncle Paul's wife.
Yes.
Now, my mother always said they did not like her. She was a rough, tough, Rumson, worker woman.
Yes.
And they didn't like her. Sometimes they sent my uncle in a car all the way into Lincroft. The stream came out of the hill to gather watercress for watercress sandwiches.
Well, I find it comforting that some things have not changed and women might still be like that about in-laws.
I'm telling you right, yeah. They were just like, they would sit like this. No, I can't mean to do it. They would sit with their knees would be on an angle, a tiny angle, and they'd sit just like this. They'd never touch the furniture.
As if they went to finishing school.
Yes.
Right? Right?
Yes.
All right, so we'll close this one out until our next one.
Okay.
All right, thank you.